Stay with us until the very end of this video, because what I am going to share with you at the conclusion of this story may truly shock you. It is not just another Hollywood anecdote, not just a charming slip of memory from an actor who brought to life one of the most beloved television series in modern history. There is more here than meets the eye, and if you think you know everything about Downton Abbey and its cast, prepare to be surprised. Before we go further, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the like button, because we bring you the stories that others only touch the surface of. We go deeper. We uncover the little things that make the big stories matter. Now, let us slowly unfold a tale that begins not with grandeur in aristocratic titles, but with something as simple and as curious as a forgotten name. Harry Hadden-Paton, the man who played Herbert Bertie Pelham, the character who would rise to become the 7th Marquess of Hexham and who captured the heart of Lady Edith Crawley, has revealed something extraordinary about his own journey through the series. Imagine stepping into a world of 1920s English elegance, surrounded by the glamour of ballrooms, the weight of history, and the watchful eyes of millions of fans across the globe, only to realize that for months you weren't even sure what your character's first name really was. Yes, you heard that correctly. For months, Hadden-Paton did not fully know his character's given name. Not until a wedding scene, arguably one of the most pivotal and emotional moments in the entirety of Downton Abbey, did the truth of Herbert's name become clear. And the way he discovered it is almost poetic in its simplicity. He recalls still holding on to a program from that wedding, Edith and Bertie's wedding. A program that spelled it out in elegant script, the marriage of Herbert and Edith. Until that very instant, the man portraying Herbert himself had no idea he was a Herbert at all. He thought, vaguely, he might be an Albert or something along those lines. Can you imagine acting in a period drama of such significance, yet not knowing such a central detail of your role? The anecdote is not just amusing. It reveals something deeper about how massive productions like Downton Abbey unfold. With dozens of cast members, intricate plot lines, and secrets carefully guarded to maintain suspense, sometimes even the actors are kept slightly in the dark. Sometimes they discover the truths of their characters at the same time the audience does, or, in this case, even later. And here's where things become fascinating. This detail about a forgotten name says much more about the process of acting, about the living, breathing art form that is storytelling, than it first appears. But let us not rush. Let us savor the richness of this story, because it ties into the greater phenomenon of Downton Abbey, a cultural masterpiece that has captured hearts worldwide, spawning films, books, and endless discussions. And if you think this is only about a name on a page, think again. Subscribe now if you haven't yet, because what follows is a journey into the layers of memory, identity, and the magic that happens when fiction collides with reality. Harry Hadden-Paton was 44 years old when he gave this revelation, speaking during the premiere of Downton Abbey, the grand finale in New York City. The moment, as he described it, was tender. A wedding program held in his hands, still preserved, still meaningful. That piece of paper, is more than just a prop. It is the key to his understanding of who he was meant to portray. It is evidence of how actors carry their characters with them, long after the cameras stop rolling. The fact that he still has it, that he treasures it, tells us something profound about the connection between performer and role. For him, that program was not just ink on parchment. It was his anchor to Bertie, to Herbert, to a name that became part of television history. And yet, despite his attachment to this fragment of memory, Hadden-Paton confesses something else. He did not manage to keep other mementos from the series, though he tried. He once slipped away with a suit from the set, a fine three-piece suit, no doubt tailored to perfection for his aristocratic character. But when the time came to film the first Downton Abbey movie, the producers asked for it back. He grumbled, he admits, and reluctantly returned it. After all, when in modern life would one wear such an ornate outfit? Still, there is something charmingly human about the thought of an actor, now celebrated on red carpets, sneaking away with a costume like a schoolboy pocketing a keepsake. Pause for a moment and consider what this says about the relationship between actors and their costumes. These garments are not just clothes. They are vessels of transformation. When Hadden-Paton slipped into that three-piece suit, he was no longer Harry, the man, but Bertie, the Marquis. To take it home was to preserve that power, and yet it had to be returned, as though the magic itself belonged only to the halls of Highclere Castle, where Downton Abbey was filmed. Isn't it remarkable how even those who breathe life into characters must sometimes surrender their creations back to the story? Now let us widen the lens, because this revelation about a forgotten name comes at a crucial moment in the Downton Abbey saga. The franchise is approaching its grand conclusion with a third and final movie, Downton Abbey, the grand finale. The very name suggests not just an ending, but a culmination, a farewell steeped in dignity and emotion. This is not just the closing of a chapter, it is the sealing of a legacy. Alongside Harry Hadden-Paton, we will once more see Laura Carmichael as Lady Edith Crawley, his on-screen wife. Hugh Bonneville will return as Robert Crawley, Michelle Dockery as Lady Mary, Elizabeth McGovern as Cora, Jim Carter as the ever-dependable Mr. Carson, Brendan Coyle, Kevin Doyle, Joanne Fraggot, Robert James Collier, Alan Leach, Phyllis Logan, Leslie Nichol, Dominic West, Penelope Wilton, and Paul Giamatti, all names synonymous with the beating heart of Downton Abbey. The upcoming film takes us into the 1930s, a decade of transition, uncertainty, and modernity. The Crawley family and their loyal staff face the future head-on, even as they cling to the traditions of the past. The grand estate of Downton itself becomes more than just a house. It becomes a symbol of resilience, continuity, and adaptation in a world that is changing faster than ever. And it is within this backdrop that Herbert and Edith's story, and the stories of all those around them, will reach their final act. That think back to the revelation with which we began, an actor not knowing his character's name. Does this not seem almost symbolic? A reminder that even in the grand sweep of history, even in stories of power and legacy, we can forget the simplest details of who we are until a piece of paper or a moment of truth reminds us. There is an elegance in this oversight, a humanity, a lesson. And as we watch Downton Abbey, the grand finale, perhaps we too will ask ourselves what names, what identities, what legacies we carry, unknowingly, until the moment arrives when everything is revealed. And now, as promised, Let me share my final thoughts on this story. To me, the most striking part of Harry Hadden-Paton's revelation is not that he forgot his character's name. It is that he discovered it through one of the most meaningful and symbolic moments of the entire series: a wedding, a union, a merging of destinies, a turning point not just for Edith and Herbert, but for the entire Crawley family line. The fact that his identity, as Herbert Pelham, Marquis of Hexham, became clear in that very moment, almost feels destined. As though the truth of who he was meant to be as a character could only be revealed in a moment of love, commitment, and transformation. That is storytelling at its purest, life imitating art, and art imitating life. It also speaks volumes about how stories live on far beyond scripts, sets, or costumes. An actor may forget a name, a viewer may overlook a detail, but the essence of what is being told, of resilience, of transformation, of identity, remains unforgettable. For me, this is why Downton Abbey has left such an indelible mark on audiences worldwide. Because beneath the grandeur of titles and estates, it reminds us that identity is fragile, memory is imperfect, and yet love, legacy, and humanity endure. So yes, perhaps it is amusing that Harry did not know his own name for months. But when you look deeper, you see a reflection of all of us. How often do we move through our lives uncertain of our purpose, unaware of the weight of our own names, until a pivotal moment wakes us up? Downton Abbey's magic lies in these quiet truths, hidden within aristocratic drama, and that is why its finale will matter so much more than just another film release. It will be a reminder of who we are, who we have been, and who we might still become. And that is my thought on this story. Not just about a forgotten name, but about the power of names themselves, the way they define us, and the way stories, whether on screen or in real life, shape the way we come to understand who we truly are.